The 3 seasons of menopause, your ultimate guide to perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. In the vast landscape of women's health, few terms are as commonly used and as frequently misunderstood as menopause. For many, it has become a catch-all phrase, a single word used to describe the entire multi-year saga of hot flashes, mood swings, and irregular periods. This oversimplification does a great disservice to the women experiencing it, as it blurs together what are actually 3 distinct and important stages of a natural life transition. Understanding the difference between perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause is not just a matter of semantics, it is the key to understanding your own body, anticipating changes, and seeking the right kind of support and medical care at the right time. Think of this journey like the changing of the seasons in a year. Perimenopause is the long, unpredictable autumn, a time of fluctuation and transition. Menopause itself is a single day, the winter solstice, the specific moment that marks the turning point. And postmenopause is the long season of winter that follows, a new and stable phase with its own unique landscape. This guide will walk you through each of these seasons, clarifying their definitions, hormonal characteristics, and what you can expect during each phase. Perimenopause, the season of transition. This is not a brief phase. It is a lengthy process that can last anywhere from a few years to over a decade, with the average duration being about 4 to 8 years. It typically begins for most women in their mid to late 40s, but it can start early. Perimenopause is defined by the gradual decline and increasing unpredictability of ovarian function. It is a season of hormonal chaos. It begins as your ovarian reserve, the finite number of eggs you were born with, dwindles. Your remaining follicles become less responsive to the hormonal signals from your brain. Your brain's pituitary gland, sensing this sluggish response, begins to release higher levels of follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, in an attempt to stimulate the ovaries more forcefully. In the early stages of perimenopause, this can lead to a paradoxical situation. The high levels of FSH can sometimes overstimulate the ovaries, resulting in cycles with unusually high erratic estrogen level. This can cause the uterine lining to build up more thickly, leading to heavier periods, and can shorten the first half of the menstrual cycle, causing your periods to become closer together. As perimenopause progresses, the ovarian response falters more significantly. You will begin to have an increasing number of anovulatory cycles, which are months where you do not release an egg. In these cycles, no corpus luteum is formed after ovulation, and therefore no progesterone is produced. Progesterone is the calming, stabilizing hormone of the second half of your cycle. Without it, you may experience symptoms of unopposed estrogen, such as worsened premenstrual syndrome, breast tenderness, and mood swing. This lack of ovulation is also what causes your periods to become longer and more irregular. You may go 60 days or more without a period, only to be followed by a very heavy and prolonged bleeding episode. This unpredictable pattern of short cycles, then long cycles, heavy bleeding, and skipped periods is the absolute hallmark of the perimenopausal transition. While menstrual irregularity is the defining characteristic, this is the stage when many of the classic menopausal symptoms first appear. Sleep disturbances. Sleep problems become common, driven by night sweats, increased anxiety from the loss of progesterone's calming effect, and other hormonal mood changes, mood swings, irritability, and a feeling of being emotionally fragile are very common, as your brain's mood-regulating neurotransmitters, like serotonin, are affected by the fluctuating estrogen levels. Cognitive and physical changes. Many women also begin to notice the first signs of vaginal dryness, a decrease in libido, and the frustrating cognitive symptom known as brain fog. Menopause, the single moment in time. While perimenopause is a long process, menopause is a single specific point in time. It is not a period of years, it is by definition, one day on the calendar. Menopause is the 12-month anniversary of your final menstrual period. It can only be diagnosed retrospectively, after a full year has passed without any bleeding. The average age of menopause in the developed world is 51, but the normal range is quite broad, typically between 45 and 55. On the day of menopause, nothing magical or dramatic happens. It is simply the official marker that signifies the end of your reproductive years. The hormonal snapshot at this specific moment is one of finality. Your ovaries have essentially ceased their production of estrogen and progesterone. Your FSH levels are now chronically and permanently high, as your brain continues to send signals to ovaries that can no longer respond. The symptoms you might be feeling on this day are simply a continuation of the perimenopausal symptoms you have been experiencing. The significance of this date is that it marks the official entry into the next phase of life, postmenopause. It is the turning point, the solstice, after which a new and different season begins. Postmenopause refers to the entire phase of life that begins after the menopause landmark has been reached. This is the longest stage of the journey, lasting for the rest of your life. Life in postmenopause is characterized by a new hormonal state, one of consistently low estrogen and progesterone. The hormonal chaos and wild fluctuations of perimenopause are over. Your body is no longer subject to the monthly cyclical drama. This new stability brings changes to the symptom landscape. For many women, some of the most disruptive symptoms of perimenopause begin to improve during postmenopause. The erratic mood swings often stabilize as the hormonal roller coaster comes to a halt. The unpredictable and heavy bleeding is by definition gone. For some women, hot flashes and night sweats may also become less frequent and less intense over time, although for a significant portion of women, they can persist for many years into postmenopause. However, postmenopause is also the time when the health consequences of long-term estrogen deficiency become the primary focus. While the chaotic symptoms may fade, a new set of issues related to tissue atrophy and increased chronic disease risk emerge. These are the health concerns that require proactive management for the rest of your life. Genitourinary syndrome of menopause, GSM. Unlike hot flashes, which may improve over time, the symptoms of GSM are typically progressive and will worsen without treatment. The vaginal, vulvar, and urinary tissues continue to thin and become drier and less elastic due to the chronic lack of estrogen, leading to persistent pain with sex, itching, and an increased risk of urinary tract infection. Osteoporosis, the accelerated bone loss that begins during perimenopause, continues in the early years of postmenopause. Without the protective effect of estrogen, your bones become more vulnerable to fracture. This is why bone density screening becomes a routine part of healthcare in this state. Cardiovascular risk, the loss of estrogen's protective effects on your heart and blood vessels, means that your risk for heart attack and stroke begins to climb, eventually equaling that of managing blood pressure. Cholesterol and blood sugar becomes a top health priority. Partnering with your doctor through each stage, your needs and health priorities will shift with each stage. During perimenopause, this information is the most valuable tool for your doctor. The key conversation will be confirming that your irregular bleeding is due to perimenopause and not other causes. Your doctor may recommend a pelvic ultrasound to check for fibroids or polyps, a blood test to check your thyroid function, and a complete blood count to screen for anemia if your bleeding is heavy. This is also the time to discuss early symptom relief. If heavy or frequent bleeding is disrupting your life, a low-dose hormonal contraceptive or a hormonal IUD can be an excellent way to regulate your cycles and provide relief. If sleep is becoming an issue or mood swings are becoming problematic, this is the time to start exploring lifestyle strategies and potential treatments. The transition from perimenopause to menopause, marked by that one-year anniversary, should trigger a specific menopause consultation. This visit is less about managing chaotic symptoms and more about creating a long-term health strategy. This is the ideal time to have a detailed discussion about menopausal hormone therapy, MHT. Based on the timing hypothesis, this is the window of opportunity where initiating MHT may offer the most benefits, particularly for cardiovascular and bone health, alongside profound symptom relief. Your doctor will review your personal and family medical history to help you weigh the benefits and risks. This visit is also about establishing a new baseline for your health and setting a schedule for the preventative screenings that will become critical in the next phase of your life. During postmenopause, your healthcare shifts decisively towards prevention and long-term health management. Your annual checkups will now focus heavily on monitoring for the health risks associated with a low estrogen state. This includes regular bone health monitoring. A baseline DEXA scan or bone density test is typically recommended around the age of 65 or earlier if you have specific risk factors. Your doctor will also closely monitor your cardiovascular health with regular blood pressure checks and lipid panel blood tests to track your cholesterol level. Screening for diabetes with a fasting glucose or HbA1c test also becomes more important. Your cancer screening schedule will continue with regular mammograms and colonoscopies as recommended. The frequency of cervical cancer screening may change, a conversation you should have with your provider. For managing chronic postmenopausal symptoms like GSM, this is the time to discuss options like vaginal moisturizers, lubricants, and safe, effective low-dose vaginal estrogen. Beyond the physical changes, it is essential to acknowledge the profound psychological journey that accompanies these stages. Perimenopause can be a time of significant emotional upheaval. The feeling that your body is unpredictable and no longer your own can lead to a sense of anxiety and a loss of identity. The brain fog can impact your confidence at work, and the mood swings and decreased libido can strain even the strongest partnership. It is a period that requires immense self-compassion. Many women report a sense of calm and a postmenopausal zest, a new energy to focus on their own goals, health, and well-being. This is not to discount the challenges of managing long-term health, but to recognize that this new season offers its own unique opportunities for growth and fulfillment. It is a shift from the health concerns of reproduction to a focus on longevity and vitality. Conclusion: the unpredictable bleeding and mood swings of your late 40s are likely perimenopause. The moment you cross the 1-year mark without a period is menopause. The life you live after that point is postmenopause. As medical organizations like the International Menopause Society emphasize, this is a continuum of aging. Each stage has its own unique hormonal environment, its own set of challenges, and its own health priority. By understanding the difference between these seasons of your life, you can become a more informed advocate for your own health, having productive conversations with your doctor and seeking the right strategies to not just survive, but to thrive through this entire transformative journey.